Should you buy The Last of Us Part 1? The Last of Us has always had a special place in my heart, and it's clear so many other people feel the same, but when this remake was announced, it seemed like a lot of people were confused and questioned why it even needed to exist. And then they announced Sony would be charging $70 for this remake, so pretty much everything was going against this remake. $70, what the hell? Gameplay changes? None there. What was the marketing team doing at this point? It seemed crazy. Even I was extremely skeptical and was very critical of this remake announcement. It seemed like Sony was once again exploiting the Last of Us fanbase and throwing out a lazy cash grab, but after playing The Last of Us Part 1, do I recommend this remake? Well, let's find out. We'll be treating The Last of Us Part 1 as a completely new game as it's charged at that price. We'll be talking about the story, AI, combat, stealth, customization, sound design, Dualsense, and that $70 price tag, so let's go. Also, a big thank you for Sony providing this review code. I would not be reviewing it this early if I didn't get that code, so that was awesome. Thank you, Sony. I really appreciate it. Guys, we made it. We made it. Sony noticed us. This is awesome. Oh, and I also played in performance mode. That should be very clear. I played in performance mode. I didn't touch the quality mode whatsoever. I don't have a 4K TV. The Last of Us is known for its story. I think everyone knows what happens, but I'll keep the spoilers to a minimum. You follow Joel, who meets a girl called Ellie, who happens to be immune. By a random chance, Joel is tasked with getting Ellie to the Fireflies, which becomes a far more complicated task than originally expected, and the two bond over the course of the game, resulting in two of the most popular characters to come out of the gaming industry. Joel and Ellie are the reason The Last of Us holds together. Without them, The Last of Us simply would not work. The world they inhabit, the people they kill and meet are all just background for Joel and Ellie to grow as characters, for one of the best stories told in the gaming industry. This remake really helps that story tremendously. It's the same story with pretty much nothing being changed apart from some slightly different shots that are more close up or further away, but the update to visual fidelity is beyond impressive. Facial animations are the best in this industry. I haven't seen a single game pull off facial animations like this. Some are close to this, but The Last of Us Part 1 just brings a whole new level of animation to it.
It is over, Tess! Now we tried. Let's just go home.
The performances have been untouched. It really is just a visual upgrade when it comes to the story being told, but animations and facial animations have been so carefully crafted, it's hard not to spend the entire video talking about it. I saw a lot of people saying they couldn't see a difference, and that's fine, but I would recommend some glasses because there is very clearly a massive improvement over the original Last of Us. But yeah, I'm not going to talk too much about the story as it's the same game. If you want a more in-depth look into the story, you can watch this video in the top right corner. But yeah, it's good. Everyone knows The Last of Us has a good story. Some people don't like it, but the majority of people really like the story. And they should. It's a really well-written story. It's well acted. It's always been visually great. And yeah, it has one hell of an ending. We all know this. So I'm going to skip past that and get to the stuff most of you probably care about with this remake. Combat is far more visceral thanks to the update in visuals, but it's the same game. It plays the exact same to the original. Get behind cover, peek and shoot, throw a brick and charge forward, etc, etc. It's the classic cat and mouse gameplay that a lot of third-person games go for today, but how often you play as the cat or the mouse depends on the difficulty you play on. So yeah, the weapons are the same. You've got your pistols, rifles, shotguns, which is my favorite.
There. He's not here. Fan out!
A flamethrower, baseball bats, planks of wood, pipes, machetes, axes, all of that good stuff. But it really does play the same. The idea of this game being remade from the ground up seems like a waste of potential. The visuals are absolutely incredible, but nothing has really changed apart from the AI. It's the same game, and I bet a lot of you Last of Us speedrunners will speedrun this game on their first playthrough because it really is the same. Animations, while they look the same when you're not playing, feel way smoother than they did in the original. In the original, it was really tough to get in, to get a melee kill, look up, throw a brick and shoot and run back to cover, but in the remake, it's just really smooth. That's the second biggest change to the gameplay and just how smooth everything is. Joel controls really well, enemies dynamically change positions quickly and don't mess about on normal difficulty. They will kill you if you don't like stay on your A game. game, which was really cool to experience. But yeah, everything is just really smooth, to the point, and doesn't feel janky or, you know, like you're pushing against Joel. You're like, Joel's fighting you in a way. That was an issue with the original. It didn't really bother me, but it is really noticeable in this remake how much they've improved how smooth everything is. The Dualsense was heavily used throughout this remake. You can feel that bowstring being pulled back, or that disgusting punch to the face you pulled on a guy just trying to feed himself. You can even feel the rain trickling down Joel's body in one of the earlier sections of the game, and that just blew me away. It's like very subtle. It's very subtle. You can feel the raindrops hit your shoulders and everything. It's hard to explain, as many people have said in other reviews about the DualSense, but once you feel it, you get it. I do think the DualSense is a little overhyped though. It didn't really blow me away in most of the games that I've played, but it did here. I think the DualSense is best when it's used for subtle details rather than, oh, you felt that explosion. That was really cool, wasn't it? Yeah, I felt a similar thing about 10 years ago in the PS3 generation, so, you know, well, maybe not the PS3, I'm being a little harsh there, PS4. So yeah, the DualSense, like, it's cool. Mine's a bit dirty at the minute. I was sweating while playing The Last of Us, but yeah, you can feel the triggers. It's like what's the best way I could put it? It's like a mechanical keyboard. There's a little bit of pressure, but there's far more pressure on the triggers when you pull the bowstring or whatever. The vibration, it's not going to shake your hands like this, but it's subtle. It's subtle most of the time. Sure, there's a big explosion and you go, oh, wow, that felt good. But it's just, it definitely feels more like a gimmick at the minute. But The Last of Us kind of takes it from being a gimmick to an actual gameplay feature. Because most games that I've played, I haven't played Horizon, haven't played any major PS5 exclusives, but for me, this is the first game that actually makes this controller worth the price that they're currently selling them at, which is like 50 quid or something, which is ridiculous. But yeah, that's the DualSense, if you cared about that. Let's move on. Either way, the DualSense is used really effectively here and impressed me, which is nice to say. Sound design is absolutely my favourite thing about this remake. I recently became some sort of sound design junkie, so when I booted this game up and heard how well crafted the sound was compared to the original, I got some mini chills. I was smiling. The difference in the highs and lows is headache-inducing, and that's a good thing. Simply walking through abandoned buildings versus outside, it's just so different. It just sounds so different. It sounds so good. Shooting your weapons in closed-in areas versus outside areas sound different. You can hear the bullets flying past your right side, narrowly missing you, and then hitting the pavement on the left, which it just sounds ridiculously real, and it scared the crap out of me a few times. The sound design is just such an improvement over the original. AI and stealth have been improved significantly. If you played The Last of Us Part 2, just think about that AI and stealth, and just without the dodging and proning. It's a worse version of The Last of Us Part 2, but so much better than the original Last of Us. It's in that middle ground. Is really odd. Enemies will consistently flank and communicate. If you're not on your A game, you're gonna get surrounded and beaten to death. Enemies don't just walk out of cover for no reason now, at least in my experience. And will actually plan some sort of attack, like throwing a Molotov and then changing position rather than just changing position right in front of you. They'll hide behind corners, making almost no sound to get a cheeky hit on you, while another guy is waiting for you to peek that corner to shoot you as well. The AI is massively improved and was just awesome. It's an awesome addition to this experience. However, I do wish dodge and prone was added. I saw a lot of people say, well, you need to change the level design and blah blah blah. I don't think you would have. You could literally just add some extra grass in specific missions, and there you go. You're sorted. That's all you had to do. Just add some grass, add a slightly lower cover than usual. That's it. It's not a big deal. However, dodging, I could see it being more of a pain in the ass, but you could have just made the counter more consistent. There's a little option where you can counter an enemy when you've got a bat and they've got a bat. Just make it so you can counter normal melee attacks as well. I guess some people would say it was too easy, but make it like a timed thing or a stamina bar or something. Something that actually justifies this remake. It's such an odd thing not to add. I know they want to preserve as much of the original as possible, but at the end of the day, when I hear remake, I think massive overhaul to gameplay, and I think a lot of people would have preferred that and expected that. Customization is also the same, apart from some additional cosmetics and game modes that you can play, like speedrun mode or permadeath mode, among the others you can see. It's basically imported from The Last of Us Part 2 from what I can tell, but I may be wrong. They did add workbench animations though, so when you're customizing weapons, which is cool and satisfying to see, that you get different animations, it looks cool. That's what this remake is, it looks cool. The workbench animations, it's cool, but it doesn't need to be there. Okay, I can imagine you've skipped most of what I've said to get to the price tag, so let's talk about it. No, I don't think it's worth $70. I don't think there is enough changes in this remake to be worth that amount of money, or £70 here in the UK, which is actually $80. This is the same experience I can get from the remaster, just with better AI, visuals, and sound design. And while those changes are significant for me, I did get a review copy. I didn't spend £70 on this game. I was going to, but if I did, honestly, I would kind of feel ripped off. SkillUp mentioned that the value of something isn't necessarily a price tag, but what it means to you. And I can kind of get that point, but honestly, I don't agree. At the end of the day, you're still spending $70. That is what it is worth. $70. That's what you're going to be paying for it. That could be spent on food, a day out, or anything else really. And I know there'll be one comment, oh, you're a brokey. And honestly, yeah, I live life like I'm broke, mainly because I am most of the time. But I always approach these reviews as a consumer. I'm not a game developer. I never said I was. I don't know anything about designing games really. So Naughty Dog probably worked their ass off to achieve this remake, but as a consumer, it just doesn't feel like it. I really wish there was some major changes to gameplay on the levels of Last of Us 2, but that's not what we got. Visually, the remake is fantastic, one of, if not the most beautiful game I have ever seen, but that's it. I really wish I could say it's worth $70, but I just don't, despite how intense I love this IP. I'd say wait for a sale for around $40 at most, and then buy it. But if you really want to play it, despite the lack of gameplay changes, and you adore, and I mean you adore this game, then sure, $70 is fine. But just remember how this industry works. If one company gets away with screwing consumers over, others will follow in their footsteps. $70 is just too much for this remake, guys. Take that into consideration, and thank you for watching. Dead Island review is coming soon. It's an interesting one. Thank you for sticking around.